Let's make Conway's Game of Life. We'll start by using Copilot Chat and Visual Studio Code and moving down to our model picker. We have several of the latest models to choose from, so let's switch to Claude Sonnet 3.5. And let's tell Copilot what we want, often known as the prompt. You might notice it's pretty specific. We're specifying that we want a single file, the page to be responsive, and the size of the cells. Now when you work with another dev, if your request is unclear, then they might work on the wrong thing, or miss some requirements. So with Copilot, we found that making a prompt simple and specific can help. So check out gh.io/copilot/prompt-tips to learn more. Scrolling through Copilot's response, we can hover over the suggested code and use the inserted cursor button to bring the code into our editor. It's always a good practice to review the code before integrating it into your own code base. This looks good, so let's take a look. Great, looks like it's working. But we don't write perfect code in one shot. We need to iterate, so let's try that with Copilot. Let's base the color scheme on the GitHub contribution graph and slow the generation down. The response looks good, so I can hover over the code block and use the Apply in Editor button. With the power of AI and speculative decoding, it determines where the changes need to be made and presents a diff for me to review and approve. And we have our GitHub-themed Game of Life. Now you're probably thinking, one single file for your HTML, JavaScript and CSS? Really? I know, but we were iterating on a few ideas. So now, let's break that out into separate files for single responsibility. We're going to use Copilot Edits. Copilot Edits allows us to make changes across multiple files, like creating files and making changes to existing files. Now, like in chat, we use natural language to tell Copilot what we want. So let's ask to split the files into separate HTML, JavaScript and CSS. Notice it explains the plan before it executes to give us confidence. Once the edits are made, we can click on the View All Edits button to easily review the changes made across multiple files. So we can scroll through each file, review the changes as a diff, and then accept the edit once we're happy. We can save the files and mark the working set as done. And another quick tip, you can even drag and drop your files from the navigation pane or the file tabs onto Copilot Edits or Copilot Chat, so that can be used as context in the discussion. Now, let's complete another common development task, refactoring our code for improved readability. As we scroll through, Copilot has grouped some of the variables together more logically, added a new class, and nested some methods underneath that. I didn't ask Copilot to follow any coding standards, but my team might have specific styles or conventions and expectations. And we can specify those in a Copilot instructions file. So once again, let's ask to improve the readability of the code, but this time, notice that the Copilot instructions file is being brought in as context. As we fast forward, we can see Copilot suggested edits with HTML5 meta tags, JS doc documentation, and incorporated the instructions. Looks good. Now before we move on, let's just double check that the Game of Life still works as expected. Great. But that's not all. With inline chat, you can use / commands. Some additional documentation would help us with our understanding. So let's use /doc and ask it to expand on the implementation. Nice, we have a brief description and explanation of those parameters, but I'm not entirely sure what this term is in the description. A torus. So let's use /explain. Ah, okay. Copilot just helped me learn a new concept as well. And in addition to / commands, we can use Copilot extensions in chat, a way to use Copilot's natural language capabilities with our preferred tools and services. Check out more at gh.io/copilot/extensions. Now readmes are incredibly helpful when we're trying to learn about a new repository. So let's use Copilot Edits to create one for us, summarising the app, how it's implemented, and most importantly, how the community can contribute. And let's think about deployment. We have a static site, so can deploy it to GitHub pages. So let's ask Copilot to help us write a GitHub Actions workflow. And after reviewing it, it looks good. So let's save it, commit those changes, and of course we'll get Copilot to help us with that.